Hello. Thank you for stopping by. My name is Becky and this is Bex Reads, and today I'm going to be doing a recipe and review for you. This is a collaboration with a few other booktubers. I was invited by Vanessa, I read with Dr. B, so thank you, Vanessa, for inviting me to do this. I do think this was meant to be a reading vlog. The whole point was to read a book that had recipes in it and then make those recipes. So that's what I'm doing today, but I am just going to be giving you a review of the book because I read this book on the plane back from vacation, so I couldn't really vlog me reading it. So we're just gonna do a review and a recipe and review. So the book that I am reviewing is The Girl Who Chased the Moon by Sarah Addison Allen. This is a literary fiction with some magical realism elements in it. And in this, we are following two perspectives. The first is of this teenager named Emily who has moved back to this small North Carolina town after her mother has passed away, and she is living with the grandfather who she never knew. Her grandfather is a literal giant of a man. And when she returns to this small town, she is looking to get some answers to some questions that she has about her mother's past, because her mother never talked about her past. And Emily knew her mother to be this very do-good, philanthropic, nice, generous woman. But when she returns, she comes to find out that nobody in this town liked her mother, and they blame her mother for the suicide of another young man. When her mother was a teenager, she was in this very brief romance with the son of this very mysterious family that is very prominent figures within this town. And after he commits suicide, she is pretty much given the blame for that because the townspeople think that she forced him to reveal the secret that his family has been holding. So when she starts school in this small town, she is met with a lot of contempt from everyone in this town because of her mother's actions. The only person who seems to show her any kindness is this young man who is the grandson of this mysterious family, and they start up a romance. So it sort of has this Romeo and Juliet feel to it, of these two teenagers from families who don't like each other finding love. And then the second perspective in this, we are following Julie, who grew up in this small town, and she left as a teenager, but she had to come back to settle her father's estate when he passed away. And part of that was either selling or taking care of his barbecue restaurant. And Julie has always had an affinity for baking. She loves to bake, and she's always had this way of infusing her baked goods with a little bit of magic. She has always been able to bake a cake that will help somebody find something that was lost, or bake cookies that made people remember something that they forgot. So she takes it upon herself to turn her father's barbecue shop into a bakery, and she's going to do this in the few years that she has remaining in this town, because she had promised her father that she would give owning his business a try. So she is expecting to only stay in this town for a brief amount of time. And while she is there, a man from her past, who was her teenage love, re-enters her life, and she is wary to give him a piece of her heart again because he broke her heart. But as it goes, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, and Julie being able to infuse her baked goods with a little bit of magic, things are bound to happen that bring them back together. And Julie and Emily's lives do cross paths. They both have a connection through her mother, and Julie becomes sort of a mother figure that Emily is looking for. This is the third, I would say, Sarah Addison Allen book that I've read. I read Garden Spells and The First Frost, which is sort of a duology, and I really enjoyed those stories. I loved the slight magical realism element that was brought into the stories, and I liked the family dynamic that was in those stories, and that's true for this one as well. I really liked the magic that was in here. It wasn't overblown, but it just added that little bit of whimsy. We have magic in the form of Julie's cakes and baked goods being able to have a little bit of magical elements to them. We also have a little bit of magic with this mysterious family in the small town because they do not come out at night. There is something about them that prevents them from coming out at night. And so everybody in this town is now aware of what that is except for Emily. So that was interesting to see. There's also some magic with her grandfather, who is a literal giant. And the room that Emily resides in is the room that belonged to her mother. And this room's wallpaper changes depending on Emily's mood. So it just has these slight magical elements that I really, really loved. I of course loved the family dynamics in here. We get Emily connecting with the grandfather that she never knew, Emily finding out her mother's past, and then her mother's past bleeding into Julie's point of view, and Julie reconnecting with the love of her life and dealing with the passing of her father. So there's all these different family dynamics going on that weave together. I also really liked that this book is about second chances, and not just in a second chance in the romance between Julie and the man who was her teenage crush, but also a second chance for Emily's grandfather to get a chance to raise a child that he has regrets with her mother. Emily getting a second chance to be part of a family, and this community getting a second chance to forgive the past deeds and really embrace Emily for who she is instead of blaming her for her mother's past deeds. I did listen to this book on audio, and I really liked the audio narration as well. The narrator had a very soothing and calm voice, and if I'm being honest, it actually put me to sleep. I was listening to this on the plane and I fell asleep about halfway through. So I actually listened to this audiobook twice because I missed out on what happened at the latter half because I fell asleep. And so I restarted it and I fell asleep during the beginning, and then I got caught up by the latter half. So it's not because this book was bad by any means, it's just the narrator had a really soothing tone. But that being said, this only did get a 3.5 star for me because I felt like I wanted more from some of the characters, especially Julie's love interest. There was some backstory to what he was dealing with and why he did the things he did, but I wanted more from his present life. I also wanted to know more about Emily's grandfather and his past, and I also wanted to know more about this mysterious family. I mean, they are mysterious for a reason, but I wanted more from them. Their mysterious aspect of why they don't come out at night was kind of lame in my opinion. I wanted that to be a much more fantastical paranormal reason, and it was just kind of, that's it? Okay. Whatever. So that was a bit of a letdown for me. The ending of this book also just, I wanted more from it. That's what I wanted from this book. I wanted more from it. The ending ended in a satisfying way, but I feel like it could have really hit me in my feels if it were expanded upon and stretched out a little bit more so that I could have gotten the emotional impact that I think this wanted to give me. But overall, I enjoyed this. I would recommend it. I do like Sarah Addison Allen's writing style, and if you like your contemporary fiction with a little bit of magical realism, I think you would enjoy her stories as well. I did not know that this book actually had recipes in it. I knew throughout the story that Julie was a baker, and I had a totally different book planned for this recipe and review. But when I came home and I knew I had this physical copy, I was thumbing through it. And lo and behold, there are recipes in this book. So I thought, I'm just going to use this because I already read it, I enjoyed it, and the recipes in here sound pretty good. So I will actually be attempting to make 2 recipes from this book. The first is a hummingbird cake, which is one that Julie actually makes in this story, and I believe she infuses it with this ability to find lost love or bring lost love back into your life or find somebody who was lost to you. I don't think I'm going to be able to infuse my cake with that, sorry. But I'm going to give this one a try. I will leave the recipe on the screen here for a minute if you want to screenshot that and make your own. By all means, give it a whirl. If you do make it, tag me on Instagram with the final results. I would love to see how your hummingbird cake turns out. And the other one that I'm going to make is a Milky Way cake, which I can't remember if I actually heard Julie make this cake in the book because, like I said, I fell asleep. But even on listening to it a second time, I don't recall hearing about this cake in the book, but it had Milky Ways in it. and I do like Milky Ways. So I'm gonna try this one as well. Here you go. I will leave this recipe on the screen if you want to screenshot it. Same thing, if you make it and you want to share it with me, please share it on Instagram, tag me, let me know what you think. I think I'm gonna start with the Milky Way cake first, because if I don't use these Milky Ways, I'm going to eat them. That's why I'm filming this video so far ahead in advance of when this collab is going up, because if I don't make these cakes now, I'm going to eat the ingredients. So let me pull out the ingredients for this Milky Way cake. Milky Ways, butter, flour, and sugar, baking soda, buttermilk, eggs, and pecans. So I have everything I need to make the cake. I don't have everything I need to make the icing for the cake, though. I don't have marshmallow fluff, so I'm thinking I'm just gonna melt some marshmallows. I have chocolate chips. I have sugar. I have milk, I have butter. I think the thing I'm missing is evaporated milk, but maybe I can make it work with regular milk. We'll see. We'll see. Let's get started. The first step was to preheat the oven to 325 degrees, so I got that done. Now I need to melt all these candy bars in a stick of butter, so let me do that. Next is to mix 2 cups of sugar with the other stick of melted butter, which I just melted. So let's do that. Now I have to beat 4 eggs. Fun fact, I don't like eggs, except for when it's going into a cake, or a pie, or cookies, or Cadbury. But I just don't like eggs. I need half a teaspoon of baking soda. I'm going to add that to the eggs. Wow, I had just 2.5 cups of flour, which is what I needed. So now I need to alternately add this mixture and the buttermilk to the sugar and butter mixture. Buttermilk smells foul, but whatever. Hopefully it tastes better than it smells. Just pour about half of that. Now time to add the melted candy bars to this. not a big fan of pecans either, but my parents harvest pecans, so I have this big bag to use, so I might as well use them. Alexa, start a timer for 40 minutes.
Good afternoon, Becky. 40 minutes, starting now.
So those are in the oven for 40 minutes, and while that's baking, I'm gonna clean this up. I'm gonna try and make the icing for it, and then I'm gonna start on the next cake. But first, let's try the batter of this stuff and see how it tastes. Tastes like a little bit less sweet of a Milky Way. So hopefully these cakes turn out good. Cross your fingers. Thankfully you can't taste the buttermilk. I can't smell the buttermilk either, so. I'm a batter eater, so sometimes I just bake stuff so I can eat the batter. I am going to hold off making the icing for the Milky Way cakes until they are done. In the meantime, I am going to get started at making this hummingbird cake. So let me grab all the ingredients I need for that, most of which I probably already have out. It's all cleaned, ready for me to go. So let me get all the ingredients together. So for this, I have salt, flour, sugar, baking soda, vanilla extract, ground cinnamon, crushed pineapple, vegetable oil, bananas, eggs, and pecans. So that's all I need to make the cake, and then there is an icing that goes on it as well that I will get to later. First step, I need to stir the flour, sugar, salt, and baking soda, and the cinnamon all together in this bowl. So let's get started. Great, my bag of flour has a hole in it. This should be fun. I gotta beat 3 more eggs. That's a lot of vegetable oil. This recipe was very specific in saying use a wooden spoon, so let's stir. Alexa, stop. Let's see how those Milky Way cakes turned out. Let's see if they're done. They look pretty done. Let those cool for a few minutes, finish working on the hummingbird cake, and then maybe start working on the icing. But first I need to up the temperature from 325 to 350 for the hummingbird cake. Now I need to chop up some bananas. Okay, I got those all put in the pans. Let's taste this batter and see what it tastes like. Sort of tastes like banana bread. I'm such a delicate lady. Okay, I'm gonna get these put in the oven and then I'm gonna clean up so that way I can make the icing. Alexa, start a timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Starting now.
Okay, now that I got the kitchen all cleaned up, I can start working on the icing for these cakes. I don't know if I'm going to film this because, quite honestly, I'm tired of filming. So I think I'm just going to do it, and then I will show you the final results, okay? Okay, time for a taste test. Ignore the dishwasher going on in the background. I had to clean my kitchen twice because I had to use the stupid stand mixer and it puffed powdered sugar everywhere, so that was fun. But anyway, this is what I got. This is the hummingbird cake and this is the Milky Way cake. I think I'm gonna like this one better because this one just seems like it's gonna be a little too sweet. I do have sweet tooth, but this seems like it might be a little too sweet for me, but who knows. These recipes also made 3 Milky Way cakes and 2 hummingbird cakes. So I may send some of this to my sister's boyfriend's house for him to eat. But let's give it a try. I'm gonna try the hummingbird one first. I do like that one, and what I said about it tasting like banana bread before. That's literally what it tastes like. It tastes like banana bread with some cream cheese frosting on top. I did add some pineapple juice to the cream cheese frosting. That's not what called for it, but because it has crushed pineapples in the cake, I thought having that little bit of taste of pineapple to the cream cheese frosting would be nice. Not too sweet. It is kind of dense, so I don't think I could eat like too much of it at a time, but it is nice. So I'm gonna have a little sip of milk to cleanse the palate. Now let's try this Milky Way cake. So the cake itself really isn't that sweet, and it's not like an overwhelming Milky Way flavor. I can't really describe what it tastes like other than like chocolate, but it's not overwhelmingly sweet. The frosting, however, I don't love the frosting because it is sweet and it is kind of grainy. I don't know like what I did wrong there. I did have to use regular milk instead of condensed milk, so I don't know if that had an effect on it or not. But it is a bit of graining frosting. So like I'll eat it because it's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be, but I think I do like the hummingbird cake much better. So anyhoozle, thank you for spending time with me baking in my kitchen today. Let me know down in the comments, have you read The Girl Who Chased the Moon, or have you ever made hummingbird cake or Milky Way cake? Let me know. But if you don't want to comment that but would like to let me know that you made it to the end of this video, could you leave me a cake emoji, of course? And with that, until my next Bookmas video, go bake yourself a sweet treat. Bye.